Let's find out. Our game is on. In the bottom left, in the red, our Zerg player. He is Dark. And his opponent here in the upper right, in the red, our Protoss player. He is ShoWTimE.
And here we are. Here we begin. So, Artosis.
Yes. ShoWTimE, this guy's been steadily improving. Really put together guy, trains hard, really takes care of himself and his mentality whenever he's here at a tournament. Dark, a player who's so strong, so good, but I think, especially in 2018, it just overshadowed by other players with the same race, by some of these players outside of Korea that have been dominating. So I think this match for both these players, besides it, of course, being the WCS Global Finals, I think it's a really important match, and I think there's a lot on the line for these guys. Do you think it's actually fair to say that Dark should take this maybe 60% more likely?
Yeah, I do lean towards him taking it, and let me explain that for a minute, because obviously ShoWTimE 2-0'd him the other day. But we are in that kind of revenge match, right? We already saw Neeb do it where he beat TY before, he lost to him again. We saw that happen to Neeb last year. We see that happen pretty often, to be honest. So when the Koreans come back, they have kind of a slightly better plan for you. And if you look at the series that Dark lost, like the first game, he was like kind of going a little bit all in, right? The proxy hatch and just going into like mass Ravager Ling play and things like that. And yeah, ShoWTimE finished him off. Great job. And then the next game, Dark got really aggressive, and ShoWTimE countered everything perfectly. It was truly an amazing sight to behold. The thing is, if he had countered any one thing a little bit worse, if any of the Banelings connected into his important units or anything like that, that's where Dark would have picked up that game.
You know, one thing that
so I'm a bit nervous for him here against Dark this time.
Now, I hear you, man. You know, one thing to note about Dark, generally speaking, he's probably the best scrappy player for Zerg that you can get. Dark can actually take quite a beating, lose a lot of workers, really get harassed a lot, and actually still play pretty much perfectly. You know, he really knows how to bend the rules of the game.
That is definitely one of his fortes. There's no question there. Now, 8 Lings are on the way. Speed as well. Nice drone pick off right there.
Yeah, good catch. Not that common to actually see that. And this Adept's going to get in here, and now we have 2 drones killed. Looks like he could get the 3rd shot off.
Wow.
Right now, Dark is actually... Oh, could he...
No.
No. Okay.
No.
But getting 3 drone kills, that's actually quite good.
Yeah.
The Adept has already paid for itself at that moment. I think it's a little bit more common to see, too, but he did catch that 1 drone that was in transit between the 3rd and the natural.
You get 3 drones with your first Adept scout. That's actually amazing. Very nice start here for ShoWTimE. I agree with you completely. Now, where does ShoWTimE go from here? He grabs that Phoenix first into an Oracle. He's going to be able to push this Overlord away. Of course, it will suicide in, trying to find out exactly what's going on, but you never make your next tech building until you kill this Overlord.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, that can delay the Protoss just slightly from making that tech, which is not bad, but really, there's still quite a bit of ambiguity about what ShoWTimE's going to do here for Dark. So that Oracle is going to be coming out soon. We'll see the next phase of the harass here, see if he can actually get any drone kills or maybe try to stun them there with the Stasis Ward.
We see now exactly what ShoWTimE's plan is. He's made an Oracle, but he's going into the double Stargate anyways.
Cool.
So 2 Stargate Phoenix, it is something that ShoWTimE really likes, and he actually did pull it off against a Dark who went +1 melee in Zerglings, which that's like basically the best counter to this.
So a lot of this build is centered around the fact that players don't normally go for double Stargate Phoenixes. The fact that even if the Zerg is thinking maybe this is a possibility, it's not a mainstream build. So let's see how exactly Dark's going to try to handle it. Again, with these guys already having a history together, it's cool to see this being used this time.
Well, you know, it's so nice as well because you've already killed the Overlord. They don't see it coming. And it's one of these situations where if your opponent, for instance, goes roaches, which are pretty common right now, then you're already going to have an advantage. But we see that Dark is actually getting a very quick Hydralisk Den. And in my opinion, this is pretty good against this the quick Phoenix, right?
That's what you want if they're getting a lot of Stargates, right? I mean, that's the natural counter to mass Phoenixes. Now, note, even though we see this one Phoenix here that ShoWTimE's using to scout with and maybe poke at some overlords or something like that, the rest of the Phoenixes are actually back inside the base of ShoWTimE. He's pulling them up. And when he has the right number, he's going to try to spring these on Dark. He's going to try to surprise him and start doing a lot of damage. So the moment that these Phoenixes are spotted, we want to really keep our eyes on how much damage is actually going to occur in this part of time. Oh, did it? Okay. And that's actually unfortunate because you want these to be, well, the most ideal situation is you want them to be spotted as they get to the Zerg expansions. So let's see how quickly Dark can react, because ShoWTimE needs to get value out of these Phoenixes. He needs kills, or this is just a bad investment.
And I think he definitely will get some. We see some an additional Spore coming out to kind of zone the Phoenixes, but the Phoenixes don't really care about a single Spore all that much. So they go in, look at this, 9 drones killed. And it looks like he will get out with every single Phoenix still intact despite some damage on him.
Yeah, so a lot of damage done there right away. We do have 2 robos being made. Sentries along with the Oracle set up in a position to basically lock out any Ling harass. Let's see how these Lings do now. They're actually instead going to be more in between these bases. They do get snagged when probe.
Yeah, and he sees a single robo making, even though it is double robo on the way here. And Dark is not getting overly aggressive at the moment. A lot of times when you get Hydralisk Den that early, you really do want to go across the map and mix it up right away, but in this situation, kind of defending a little bit, expanding his tech as well, getting that Baneling Nest.
Okay, so once the Phoenix initial attack was done, they go ahead and wipe out any stray units on the map. You really want to try to darken this map as much as possible here to keep it unclear where the next move is here from ShoWTimE. He's actually going to try to come in again. He held those out there for a little bit to make it look like perhaps they were rotating around, and then came back to see if there was nobody there. But Dark's got a good setup here. He catches those Phoenixes because ShoWTimE was occupying that corner of the map maybe a little bit too long.
Yeah, very cool move right there. And catching even a single Phoenix is worthwhile now. A ton of units being made by Dark. He's only on 60 drones.
And this
is hyper aggressive.
Yeah, this is iconic Dark here, powering up with all these Hydras, all these Lings, and soon all these Banelings. And the idea is that you batter and ram your way through everything the Protoss has. We already see a few stasis wards set up here to try to curb how much impact that's going to have here. But definitely ShoWTimE needs to be ready for this.
Yeah, indeed. He is getting a lot of shield batteries, so he's completely aware of what's going on. He's got a great set of units to try to deal with this. Force fields, Guardian shields, shield batteries, Immortals, these are exactly the type of things you want right now.
Okay, Dark is going to go rotate in here to the bottom. It looks like ShoWTimE's anticipating being hit from a different angle. That Dark's going to try to tear down these rocks. With the rocks gone, it's going to be a much larger opening where he can probably do some more damage. So it's a matter of seconds before this attack commences.
Yeah, this is pretty scary. Okay, pops out there and kills a couple of Hydras, not too bad.
The rocks remain Artosis.
Only for now, though. Those are low.
That's right. You could throw anything at those rocks and they would completely crumble, man.
You trip near those rocks.
Exactly, yeah. You could spit on that and it would collapse.
Gosh.
So, Dark, I think he had to weigh his options there. He goes ahead and backs up, but we're going to wait. Lurker Den on the way now, and it looks like instead of the Zerg trying to lock in with the tech he had, he instead backs up and decides to develop further. ShoWTimE's organically going to be doing something similar. He's going to continue to try to tech up here.
Yeah, and I mean, the Lurkers are definitely a great add into this. Such a powerful unit. You can really use them to go up and siege your opponent right away. We haven't seen Psystorm, and that's because the Templar Archives has just started here. That's a little bit of a problem, because you can fight against like Ling Hydra with this army, but when Lurkers are in there, it's starting to get very messy.
Yeah, one thing about Protoss, especially against Zerg, is just having Psystorm is the ultimate comfort. Because you can blanket that down there and basically ensure that if the Zerg is overcommitting to any one position, you're going to win that fight. Yeah. But the Lurker tech's out here. Once again, Dark is going to go ahead and come down to this location in the bottom right. He's making a bunch of Banelings, which telegraphs to us as viewers that he's actually about to initiate a fight.
Yeah, especially with all of these Lurkers. He's running forward into this third base location. A couple of very good force fields do go down, but that is a lot of Lurkers to deal with. I think ShoWTimE's in some trouble here.
Yeah, I think once we saw him get into this position over here, there's just no way that you're going to be able to reclaim that. I think ShoWTimE basically has to give this up, but instead, ShoWTimE seems to want to come down here and fight, and the way these Lurker spines are hitting, I'm worried for him.
Yeah, I am as well. All of his sentries are falling very, very quickly. Just the Immortals left over now. He does have a ton of shield batteries, but was that engagement worth it for ShoWTimE? I have to say no.
Yeah, that was very poor. It seems like ShoWTimE was caught off guard by the fact that he was hit from that side over there. Psystorm is still a long ways away for how much damage is coming out here. I think we might be going to game 3 in a second here as this Zerg army is going to come in here and collapse on top of ShoWTimE.
Oh man, ShoWTimE, GG's, and Dark takes map number 1.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this was really well played by Dark, and I liked a lot of what ShoWTimE was doing as well, right? You see that it's very quick Hydras. He didn't overmake the Phoenix count. He gets the shield batteries up, lots of them, to go with his Immortal Sentry.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's something that's going to fight well against Ling Hydra and then Ling Bane Hydra.
Yeah.
But when the Lurkers come out, you don't really have map presence. You're having a very hard time at that point. The Sentries are almost useless against those Lurkers.
Really elegantly done there by Dark. Getting those Lurkers in that spot. I think a lesser player might have tried to come all the way in there with those Lings and Hydras and end the game, and I think ShoWTimE was ready for that, but Dark very gracefully teched into the next level. And then, you know, throughout that whole game, it seemed like ShoWTimE was really anticipating being attacked by from a different angle. And that's too bad. You know, when you have Phoenixes out like that, one of the advantages is you can try to scout for where this attack's going to come and try to set up a good defense.
It's a very good point. Now, ShoWTimE, you know, he is so good at defending and did live through all the early aggression from Dark, but if he does not hit his transitions perfectly, it is going to be very hard to take Dark out.
That's right. We are getting ready now to go into game number 2. This year has been insane. This is definitely the best year yet for StarCraft 2. And we're going to see which of these two players survives. Right now, it's Dark with a 1-0 lead versus ShoWTimE. Going into game number 2 and introducing our players in the upper left. In the blue, our Zerg player, he is Dark. And his opponent here in the bottom right, in the red, our German player, he is ShoWTimE.
All right, the map is Acid Plant. We'll see what these two players do want to go for. The thing is, they're both pretty standard overall, so I'm not expecting anything too aggressive, but, you know, Dark does always have that option, and he does choose to mix it in from time to time. You know, you give him a best of 5, there's going to be something highly aggressive mixed in there. A best of 3 here with his life on the line, I'm not as sure, especially considering how strong the defense from ShoWTimE was previously.
Okay. Hatchery coming down now at the 3rd. The probe was put over there in the natural to make it more difficult to play at the hatchery, so Dark doesn't want to fight it. He goes ahead and heads over in that direction. Now, I feel like Dark, especially in any series, will always throw in one pretty aggressive game here. You know, he's very good with a lot of these Ling busts and just crazy stuff like that. Do you think we're going to have that this time around, or would it be wise to just go back and play something more standard? Because it's a best of 3, because he beat ShoWTimE so handedly back there, why would you even try to flip a coin on this?
Well, I think with his life on the line, he's going to play similar to last game, right? Where the thing is, he had some decisive aggression. You know, he turned on the unit production and started pushing in, and then saw the proper defense, and then kind of fell back and got into Lurkers to destroy that. I feel like that's the right way for Dark to play right now.
Okay.
You can definitely mix in something completely wild, but this is a best of 3. You lose this game, and then suddenly ShoWTimE mixes up in the last, and you're not in the top 8 of BlizzCon. That's not what Dark wants here.
No, I think you make a very good point, Artosis. We've got that first adept being made. That's going to be headed out to try to get the initial read on what the Zerg's up to. In this phase of the game, that's kind of, besides, of course, trying to kill drones, that's basically what that adept's for. Get in there and see if there's anything out of the ordinary, because, like we were mentioning earlier, there are some options for Zerg to try to do something a little bit crazy to start things off.
Yeah, and Dark would be someone to try that occasionally. Now, this first adept, I don't expect to get as much damage as we saw in that previous game. Those 3 drone kills, that was pretty high end for a single adept. That's really meant more for scouting. But here he comes, shading up. He's had the probe up there until just recently, so ShoWTimE not having many gaps in his knowledge of what Dark is up to.
Yeah, I mean, Dark's not really up to anything wild. Let's see how many drone kills he gets. 1 drone goes down. And 2. Is he going to get that 3rd? Oh, looks like the angling pretty good here, but no.
Still, I mean, 2 drone kills. I'm not going to complain about that one.
Yep, so the adept's killed off here. 6 more drones behind that are being made. Phoenixes are coming in here. I don't think we're going to see a double Stargate again, but let's see what happens. I mean, the way that game went and the fact that this has become more of a theme here with these two.
You know, ShoWTimE really does like that build overall. It's kind of a nice controlling build in a lot of ways. So if he wants to go for it again, I don't like super blame him, but might it be better to just go for something like an Archon drop here, get into your Psystorm with a reasonable time?
Yeah, I think it's better personally. The thing is, ShoWTimE is such a good, solid player. Yeah, definitely. I would just go for the Archon drop, right? Don't do anything too crazy. I mean, I think ShoWTimE is totally capable of beating Dark in a straight-up game.
Well, I think it is the Archon drop. He throws down the Robo, and that is normally what that is going to point towards. We'll see if he puts the Twilight down next, but that's going to allow him to get into a very nice defensive position here. You know, you can do your harassment, obviously, with that Archon drop, kind of keep the Zerg busy. You know, you have an Oracle, you have a Phoenix, you can poke around with those a little bit, see if you can get a couple drones. But mostly, this is going to allow him to get into a nice spot with a third base.
Okay, that Roach Warren continuing to come up here. Everything looking pretty clean, pretty normal here for ShoWTimE. So we're definitely going into a pretty different game. Waiting for that Twilight Council to finish up. But first, let's see how much damage this Oracle really does. One more drone killed. And we have that Warp Prism on the way, which looks like it's probably setting up for a little bit of harass here.
Yeah, no doubt about that. 2 gateways going to be warped in here, finishing up. Oh, the Templar Archive coming. Maybe just slightly late on that, but that's all right. And certainly we'll see a third base coming out of ShoWTimE pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, that Warp Prism going to be coming out here. So if this is the Archon drop, which it looks like that's exactly what it's sizing up to be. The whole idea behind this is pretty cool because the Archons are pretty much entirely shields, and the fact that you can be it's so strong to abuse Warp Prism micro with the Archons, they're basically guaranteed to do some damage, even to the best players in the world. And as long as you don't lose the Warp Prism or the 2 Archons, which at this level of play is not that hard to do, you're gonna get away with something.
Yeah. And you know, there's some other smaller things that people don't normally think about as much that the Archon drop is really good at. Like, for instance, the Archon drop is going to continually give you more scouting intel because you're kind of flying all over the place. But also, it generally forces roaches out. And, I mean, roaches aren't the worst thing in the game, but a Protoss is very comfortable if Zerg has to go roaches before they get into their other tech.
Oh, doesn't quite get any drone kills there. But you can see he easily pulls out the Phoenix here to escort that Warp Prism away. And yeah, for the time being, it's going to be Dark a little bit preoccupied with trying to hold off this Warp Prism. Oh, a great interception here. Look at this. Unfortunately, it looks like he actually gets, what, about 2 probes before they're brought over to safety here.
Oh, kind of good. Actually,
there's actually nothing down here. Excuse me.
Yeah, just a shield pattern.
I was kind of expecting an army to intercept that when it got to the 3rd, but it's just battery.
Did he lose the Oracle? Oh, there it is. No. Okay, well, I don't know where that Oracle was, but it was certainly not at its post.
The Oracle slept in, Artosis.
Gosh.
Well, a few more kills here as these Adepts come forward. And that 4th base, actually, was just denied. Nicely done. And this is really keeping Dark honest. I think ShoWTimE made a really intelligent decision switching into this style for game 2. Oh, my God!
Oh, no. Losing the Prism in a single Archon is a huge loss here for ShoWTimE.
Yeah.
And not just that, I was about to say, this Dark did a really good job on not over-making roaches. He's gotten into Hydras very, very quickly with the roaches. He had just kind of the bare minimum to defend well against this. So the composition that Dark is getting into is going to look really strong coming up. And it's going to be dropped into the main base of ShoWTimE, it looks like.
That is so brutal. I mean, you got to think, ShoWTimE is 1 loss away from disappearing here from the WCS Global Finals. And it might be hinged on the fact that he lost that Warp Prism. I mean, when the entire strategy is centered around those 3 units, the 2 Archons and the 1 Warp Prism, and you lose the Warp Prism and one of the Archons, so bad. And, you know, Dark was so tight with his defense, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So many, the right number of drones versus army units to try to hold that. I really like where this is going for Dark.
Yeah, it is looking nice for him right now. Now moving across the map, he has those 5 overlords full. Gonna even pick off this Phoenix, so ShoWTimE does not know yet that a drop is on the way. There's his army. What does he have in the main? Just about nothing. couple shield batteries maybe going up, but that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, what makes this even grosser here for ShoWTimE is he knows this might be coming.
Yeah.
This is not a surprise to him right now. Well, and look at this. He's actually being baited away here as this huge drop comes into the main.
Oh, man. He warps in a few Zealots. Those are not going to hold up against this Roach Hydra army. Dark continues to poke. ShoWTimE has to split his units perfectly here.
Yeah, he really does. We see more Hydras coming down now with these Roaches. Of course, an evacuation is always easy to do when you have this many Overlords over your army. He pulls out. Will there be a second attack? We do have some armies set up over here just outside the third.
And during all of this, Dark continues to tech up. Getting that Lurker Den, getting into the infestation pit. He is going to have every tool at his disposal shortly.
That's right, Artosis. Templars are coming up, but right now, Dark has such a good position here on ShoWTimE. I mean, if ShoWTimE missteps anywhere in his own base, he's going to be punished.
Well, you know, he's going to keep threatening this drop. Oh, man, hitting it just as he was moving out, but ShoWTimE can turn around. Won't take too much damage from it this time. He might need to leave a few units in here, but don't forget, during all this, he has to defend his third base very well, and he needs to take a fourth base just about now.
Yeah, you're completely right. Also, Dark has this huge army down here in the bottom left that I think he's actually going to hit in 2 locations at once. He can poke over here and try to take out what is going to be the fourth. Looks like there's nothing there yet, but instead he decides to also attack over here. Now the army's going to get pulled away, but keep in mind where this next drop is coming. It's going to go to the natural, but he can't drop there.
No.
You would literally be dropping that army on top of those Immortals and plenty more.
Not where you want to put it, that is for certain.
Here's the thing, though. Even though that didn't do that much damage, it's still kind of good for Dark, man. ShoWTimE hasn't gotten to fourth base yet. No, Dark is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And that is really important. He did need to make his fourth. We saw he had the probe there. Okay, he throws the fourth down now in a more central location so these drops can't abuse the main and the fourth base. So I kind of like that, but look, the pressure remains here from Dark.
Okay, Overlord pickup here. Looks like he's going to take out just one of these Overlords. Oh, ShoWTimE.
That would have been a really great. Okay.
It's like, he needs at least a little victory.
Yeah.
Like
give him something.
Give him anything, please.
Oh, my gosh.
So ShoWTimE's teching into Tempest, excuse me. But that might not even be a factor here as these Lurkers come in.
Well, he does have Psystorm this time, right? So that is definitely going to be very, very helpful. A ton of great Psystorms going down on these Lurkers.
And you can see with Psystorms like that, actually Dark losing so much. There are still a small number of Lurkers, but it looks like somehow ShoWTimE is holding off everything from every angle. Beautifully done there by ShoWTimE.
Fantastically done, and you can really see that it's paid off that he had Psystorm during this battle. So ShoWTimE looks like he's ready to get that fourth base finished up, get his economy rolling even better. He's making high temperatures, he's making Immortals, he has some Tempests out here. It's looking a lot better for ShoWTimE this game than in the last.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, with him getting the fourth base up, I think it's going to be his turn to actually come out here and attack. The Tempests are now in the game. Drops are not going to be doable, really, anymore, with the Tempests out like this. So let's see what Dark does from this point on.
You know, I got to say as well, I like that ShoWTimE has made some Tempests here. You know, he's got to be a little bit nervous about Broodlords. We can see that Broodlords are not coming anytime soon. But, you know, these are going to be a very helpful range unit to kind of poke in on what Dark is doing here.
Yeah, we're seeing a rotation over here. Dark now coming around to this side. One thing about this fourth base, it's kind of in an odd spot, but you can kind of abuse this high ground area with a few simple units. It looks like, though, ShoWTimE so far, pretty good setup for defense, but now a great surround. All these Immortals are going to disappear in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, really nice move right there from Dark, but the force fields come down, some Psystorms as well. He's going to bruise and batter this army as it backs up. Another attack hitting this fourth base. That is the more important area. He cannot be losing it.
He's going to try to come in here now. ShoWTimE might be able to drive this away, but not before all these workers are going to be killed. Meanwhile, another attack coming over here towards a natural. Even though ShoWTimE held off everything earlier, Dark is not finished.
Dark's multitasking out of control right now, hitting multiple areas. Look at this, 17, 18 probes falling, but ShoWTimE is splitting his units well. A great abduct as well on that expensive Tempest.
Dark is such a god. Look at this. He just goes all the way into the main, and ShoWTimE's chasing out while the fourth base is going to fall.
Man, Dark is just looking phenomenal right now.
He is so good. Okay.
And he's going to kill the fourth base. There's no saving that base anymore.
It's so crazy.
Oh my
ShoWTimE had all the pieces you would think necessary to hold this off, but Dark is so good. at thinking on his feet. He's so good at out-positioning that in a matter of seconds, everything crumbled for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, this is no longer looking good for our German Protoss. Dark has a bunch of bases, 4 fully mining. He just made his 5th as well. His upgrades continue. He's in the Hive tech. He's got a huge army. He's really destroyed a lot of the tech of ShoWTimE as well, which is so hard to replace considering his economy has been shattered.
Okay, Hydra's moving up and looping back around. I think ShoWTimE is going to try to come out here and do some damage of his own, but I think Dark is basically prepared for this. And in fact, I don't even know if they're going to be able to get away here. Okay.
Good recall.
Yeah, well, that's about all you can ask for to like that. But the
yeah.
problem is that now this...
oh, no.
Well, now it's going to be Dark's turn to once again attack in here. And you don't have to wipe out your opponent's entire base to win the game. Sometimes you'll just have to keep them off of ever expanding, and that's more than enough.
Yeah, that is oftentimes how the games end. But GG, Dark takes out ShoWTimE in that revenge match 2-0. And will advance with many of his Korean brethren into that top 8.
Very nicely done there by Dark. ShoWTimE, he had a really good showing here, but you can't count out Dark, man. Was in the finals many years ago, and he definitely, like I said, that leaves a little bit of a hole in you. You didn't win the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's not finished, man. He's not going to stop trying. ShoWTimE is not going to stop him. And so Dark advances.
You're very right about that. Let's throw it down to the caster concave and see what these fine gentlemen are thinking.
That's right, the Concave Council of Analysis is here and ready to go. And obviously, congratulations to Dark as he puts the lights out for ShoWTimE, advancing on into the round of 8. Very well done by him, joined by Pigtot and Maynard once again. And this keeps happening. We keep having these runbacks, and Dark is able to be victorious moving on through. He's got to be ecstatic about that.
Oh, he's got to feel great. You know, it always feels good when you get another shot at the same opponent who took you out before, and to just take it out with a very convincing 2-0 is nice. I absolutely love what he did in game number 1. Really sold the story of I'm going to hit you with some fast Hydra Baneling. He showed he wasn't taking the gas on the 3rd base. His drone count looked a little low. As soon as he pushed the Phoenix away, just non-stop drones behind it into the lurk attack, and obviously ShoWTimE was just preparing for an earlier attack. Dark just walked home, came later with a big wave of lurkers, and that was just brilliant because he tried to get the same reaction he got before out of ShoWTimE, and he's seen ShoWTimE do it against Classic as well.
Yeah.
It worked perfectly.
And against the army that he thought he was facing, ShoWTimE was getting a lot of Immortals, which, I mean, they can be good against lurkers in open spaces, but it's such a great map to siege. If you can set up the siege with lurkers, you're always going to be in great shape, especially if there is no disruptors. There was no point for ShoWTimE to go for disruptors against what he thought he was facing. And then that game 2 just beautiful. Like ShoWTimE holds, like that was a 2-0, but it felt as good as if it was a 2-1 with very close games because
No, I agree.
ShoWTimE had an insane hold, and then Dark won the series, or like the second map, the one way he could win it with some incredible multi-pronged attacks.
It's crazy because the same location was where the same hold was.
Same map, yeah.
But it was a completely different hold compared to what we saw in the prior series.
Yeah, and also, you know, ShoWTimE was going for Tempest in that game. He was up against a lot of lurkers, whereas it was against Dark. Against Dark in the last game, he was sort of heading towards, you know, carriers off the back of some Phoenixes. It was more of a Stargate game. But that was so impressive from ShoWTimE. It's a shame that the score doesn't dictate how close that series felt. Dark's just so smart, man. Absolutely deserves this series.
So the cookie crumbles. Let's go to the interview to hear from Dark, moving on to the round of 8.
Thank you very much, James. I'm here with Dark. Congratulations. You look so much better because you were ill yesterday. How do you feel? 8강 진출 너무 축하드립니다. 어제는 약간 아파서 막 걱정도 되고 했는데 오늘 지금 다시 컨디션이 좋아진 것 같아요. 소감 한마디.
어제보단 좀 확실히 나아져가지고 지금 한 8할 정도 나오는 것 같고요. 일단 어제 지고 나서 그 호텔로 돌아가가지고 아 진짜 우승 못해도 되니까 8강만 가자라는 생각을 계속 했었는데 막상 올라가니까 지금 마음이 너무 편한 것 같아요.
So I feel better than yesterday, of course. And yesterday when I went back to my hotel after my lose against ShoWTimE, I was like, okay, I don't even wish to win this tournament. Just let's go to round of 8. And I feel so relieved right now. And talking about the games in the game 1, so you had those Hydra and Banelings, and then ShoWTimE scouted it, and then you went for lurkers. Can you just tell me more about this game? 1세트 때 어떤 전략이었는지 얘기해 주세요.
사실 러쉬를 가서 금방 끝내려고 했는데 쇼타임 선수가 좀 의식을 많이 하고 있더라고요. 그래서 살짝 모션만 취해줘도 많이 위축될 것 같아가지고 그런 식으로 게임하니까 좀 되게 쉽게 이긴 것 같아요.
I actually wanted to rush this game, but ShoWTimE was ready for it. So I kind of faked it, and then it worked, and that's how I could win. And do you remember that time we had an interview in Korea, and you said, but Cyril, when looking at the head-to-head score, you're still up to 2-1 against Cyril. So you said that you were still confident against him. And what do you think now that you've watched him play and now you've played in this tournament? 예전에 인터뷰를 했을 때 이제 세라 선수와 전적을 보면은 아직 2대1로 앞서고 계셔서 아직 할만하다라고 하셨는데 이번에 경기력 보니까 어떠세요?
누구요? 세랄 선수요? 뭐 생각했던 것보다는 좀 잘 나오는 것 같더라고요. 네, 네, 세랄 선수. 네.
Yeah, well, I watched him play and I think he's stronger than I thought. So now you're advancing to the next round. Who would you rather face between Maru, Cyril, and Rogue?
뭐 다 쟁쟁한 선수들이어가지고 근데 저는 일단 목표가 8강이어서 지금 마음이 너무 편해가지고 막상 8강 딱 들어가면 진짜 연습할 때 그 실력이 나올 것 같거든요. 그래서 뭐 누굴 만나도 상관없는데 그냥 하도 그 한국 분들이 세랄 원탑이다 막 이 소리 하니까 제가 좀 만나서 보여주고 싶어요. 사실 제가 가장 좀 어렵겠다라고 생각했던 게 토스전이었거든요. 근데 이게 토스전 뭐 거의 끝났으니까 자신 있어요.
So in the round of 8, all the players you just said they are really good players, you know, and well, and the Korean community they were all saying Cyril is the best Zerg in the world. So you know what? I want to meet Cyril and to show that my ZVZ. And I was really worried about my ZVP, but now I think it's pretty over. And actually, my objective was really to get to round of 8, and I did it. So I'm so relieved, and I think I will be able to play more relaxed and show you my real performance. Well, congratulations on advancing to the round of 8. It was great talking to you. And there's only one series left, one spot. Back to you guys.
That there is. Thank you very much. Dark advancing on, of course, hearing from him as well. Maybe wanting Cyril in the round of 8.
Yeah, man.
That would be very interesting.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's what I'd say to Dark if he understood what I said. But, you know, GSL vs. the World was obviously a little bit of a reality check for Dark there. He said in his interview, I remember because I went to GSL vs. the World, that he was like, oh, I don't lose to foreigners. It doesn't happen. He was like, oh, please.
Absolutely not.
Cyril is not, he's an obstacle, but he's a small one. And then, whoopsie daisies.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm sure that he's more than happy to get into that round of 8 and hit him in the best of 5 format. And I hope it happens, man. It'd be so good to see them rematch.
Yes, it would. Looking back on this, though, Pig, what did you make of it overall?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see, you know, we talked about this map, but to hear Dark say, hey, I wanted to rush, but he was so well prepared, he was scouting it, so I had to change up my plan on the fly, and hey, it worked out. I mean, he did it very well. This was quick, you know, on the fly thinking. Lurk is fantastic on that map, and I mean, map number 2, you were mentioning it, Todd. This was just such a sick way to finish that game.
After the hold, I was like, if you're a Zerg player, just veto acid plant. Like, don't try to play it against ShoWTimE. Like, he's just not losing on this map. Sure enough, right after that, he starts doing this insane multi-pronged attack that's just saved the game. Like, it feels like one of those games where so few players would have found success, but somehow he found it here after the initial hold from ShoWTimE.
Great utilization of the drops as well, to even just kind of draw him even thinner across all of his defensive lines.
I was actually going to mention the drops in particular as just being something, you know, we just brought it up on screen there, but it was definitely something that Dark does against ShoWTimE that not a lot of other Zergs do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Zergs that ShoWTimE would practice against usually go into that lurker style and try and hit from several locations at once, do run-bys and whatnot, but the Overlord drops were, you know, it got moved back to lair tech from hatchery tech, so it's something that's not as prevalent, but certainly mid-game onwards, they are deadly, especially in the hands of a Zerg with the multitasking skills of Dark.
I think he played to his image to the previous game as well, where maybe ShoWTimE was pretty worried about lurkers, but there was none. It was just like Dark attacking with a lot of roaches and hydralisks and being like all over the place, using the true mobility of those units.
Yeah. The Tempests were coming out very early there because, you know, ShoWTimE knew he was behind and he was thinking, okay, it could be they help against lurkers, they very slowly chip away, and obviously they're the answer to Broodlords. If you don't have Tempests out, you're behind on economy, Broodlords hit the field, you're just out of it. And I think after killing the lurker army, ShoWTimE kind of felt like he was past the Roach Hydra lurker phase. It was like, you know what, I held this army but it was just a remax of Roach Hydra. I think he was expecting Broodlords, and he was like very worried about the front. And then suddenly it's like, whoa, there's Roach Hydra dropping here. There's Roach Hydra running in the natural. Great positioning by Dark. Made use of a very low-tech composition with his positioning. That's what won him the game.
A lot of Zergs would have just slowed down and sat back, and I think that's what ShoWTimE expected. Dark did exactly the opposite with the Roaches and Hydras, and that moment when he sneaked into the natural with all of the Roaches, that's when we knew that he was